Good evening, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on where you're at across the globe. Welcome to the Aftermarket Monday webinar from the Active Trend Trading. I'm Dennis Wilborn. I want to remind everybody that all the materials we present are for training purposes only. Traders should always trade per trade any new method prior to the risk of their own personal capital, of course. We're looking for some seasonality trades to start picking up over the next couple of weeks into the midsection of November, and perhaps the sell-off that started today in the index is the initial setup for that particular move. We shall see. The objective of Aftermarket Mondays is basically to provide timely, actionable intel at the beginning of each week that corresponds. Now, this corresponds to what we're anticipating to happen during the week. This is the sister webinar to the one we do on Fridays. Friday, which is called Making Money Trading Stocks and ETFs, and we combine the two and just take a quick market overview. Stocks and ETFs are potentially setting up. Now, of course, we may highlight something that's setting up, but of course, our premium active trend trading members will get the triggers and the alerts and all that kind of stuff as part of their regular membership. And so, what else? Where are we focusing? So let's get into what we're looking at. Okay, here's some stocks and ETFs that are setting up, potentially for the week of October 22nd and beyond. Okay, the market is still in a situation where we're looking at the indexes and the index ETFs, at least, where we're looking to buy the dips and potentially sell into strength or do both. Again, seasonality happens to be in October timeframe, both. In particular, the NASDAQ and the Russell tend to provide us good setups during that time period. Well, that's what we're waiting on currently to happen. Those of you who are trading the active trend trading system, we did give an alert based on one of our major triggers on TNA today. And we'll see how that one works out, because it may have just been a little bit premature, but we'll be watching that. The signal was good as of this weekend. And that's where why we have our tight stop losses in on that one. So looking for ETFs, waiting for pullbacks, basically. The three major stocks that I'm looking at, one to trade, of course, are Netflix, NVIDIA, and Tesla. We currently have trades open on F5 and Play, which is Dave & Buster's. And these are what I call the catfish specials. They are basically stocks that have been great growth stocks in the past, IBD leaders, but they've gone into, kind of a very significant correction, and now it looks like they may be coming out of that correction. So, still good growth stocks, but they're just out of favor right now. So we're looking at some bounces with those, and so that's where we're looking at. I want to remind everybody that we introduced the concept of seasonality last year in the active trend trading. Here's where we are. This is the NASDAQ. Here we are towards the end of October, and we're actually getting a little bit of a pullback. So is that a pullback that's going to launch us into the rest of the year? We shall see, because basically on the NASDAQ, from the end of October, when it does get its rebound, tends to run about, let's say, 7.5%. Which with the 3-time leverage ETFs, the TQQQ, that would be about a 20+% gain over that time period. That's what we're looking at, trying to jump in on that when the time is right, when we have our signals. The go, no-go table that has been provided for the premium active trend trading members. We provided that over the weekend. Kind of shows you where we're looking at. IWM, like I said, was showing a TSI tick up. Sienna was also showing a TSI and a weekly tick up. Put an order in that. Didn't get filled on that. Play in F5, or we were, in fact, we're long both of those positions. And F5 will be closing prior to earnings on the 25th. And so that's where we're sitting at with those entities. Let me bring that up real quick. There we go. And we'll go over and take a look at the individual entities along with the along with the other things we're watching. I want to start off with those of you who are watching a little bit earlier. You saw I was looking at Netflix prior to going live. Netflix is looking kind of interesting. We're getting a nice little pullback into a level of support at about the 90 to 91 level. It has been in a nice strong uptrend. Now I would like to see better symmetry where here we got a couple of 1 week down, then bounces off support. Well, here a stronger rebound would be if it pulled down into the 8-period moving averages, the 8-week moving average, or just below it, tick below it, and then moved up. However, it is at a level of support from these past high breakout areas, and so it could decide, hey, I want to bounce from here. But notice, no TSI tick up, and the TSI over on the weekly chart is still turning down. I'm going to bounce over quickly to the daily the intraday. You can see with the intraday, we basically have a uptick with positive divergence on the intraday. So for the aggressive traders, they can say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and take this trade based off the TSI tick up on the intraday. This is the hourly chart because the intraday precedes the daily, precedes the weekly, if that makes sense. Okay, let's bounce over here. Let's take a real quick look. SPY. Nice. Okay, SPY. Bearish engulfing on a hanging man, which is definitely a bearish reversal type signal. We have the TSI now crossing over with a bearish crossover. What has happened in the past when that's happened? In the past when that's happened, we've at least got a pullback into either the support level of the moving averages, and or as long as that uptrend line is still intact, the uptrend is still, that uptrend per se is still ongoing. So we've got a little ways to pull back to that, but we may actually see a pullback down into the 254.8 to the 253 area. That would be an area of support that could lead us to a bounce area to lead into the end of the year. IWM. This is the Russell. Russell, basically it broke the 8. Will it line up now with the 20 to get a rebound? This is the TSI tick up I was talking about over the weekend, which gave us our trigger to buy in the middle of the gap. Unfortunately, it did not turn around, so we're going to be closing up our stops if prices fall below this low here. Which turns out to be 148.17. If it drops below 148, I would look at wanting to get out of that trade, but then watch it real close because we could get a real fast reversal on it to move back to the other side. QQQ. Again, bearish engulfing from Fridays, which incorporated both also the body on Thursday. The TSI has really moved down, and so what we're seeing is something that's actually quite good. We could see the rebound all the way back down here into the 146 to even the 145.60 level. Wait for the TSI to get all the way down here at the bottom. Just don't try to force it. Don't try to predict when this TSI is going to roll over or turn back up. Just hang in there, wait for that to happen. We can, if we get into a level of strong support, which is down here about the 146.58, 146.60 level, then watch and see what the intraday TSI is doing. So XLF was extended. It was, it didn't sell off with the rest of the market. The financials did not sell off with the rest of the markets. However, it is showing us a negative divergence on the daily chart. Taking a look at IBB, the Biotech was getting a good sell-off. I'm waiting for Biotech to kind of find support, probably down here about the 325 level, or you can just draw a trend line across here on the weekly charts. And if it gets down to that level, that's where we would be anticipating a potential for a rebound. But as we can see on the daily charts, this now could be construed that we have at least the first half of a trend reversal, in that we now have a lower swing low. Now what we have to do is just pull pile back up into this area, and if it reverses from there, we'd have a lower swing high, and therefore we'd be in a shorter term, at least a short-term downtrend. Watch gold. Gold's looking kind of interesting. Let me get rid of all these lines here. Yeah, cleared our eyes. There we go. We have TSI pushing down towards where it typically turns around, but look at this. It has not turned around yet. Yes, it's turned out on the hourly, but not on the daily, not on the weekly. So, yeah, you know, just anticipate it could go push down a little bit further. So I'm just saying to myself, okay, if it gets down to 2250 to the 22 level, that's when it could be definitely of interest to me to get a rebound. Gold typically towards the end of October goes into at least a brief rally into the end of the year, the first part of the new year. So, and of course, what do we trade for that? We trade Nugget, which is showing similar type situation, but not exactly the same. But it does a lot of good moving. USO is a little bit flaky in that it's kind of ricocheting all over the place. It is in a short-term uptrend, and that uptrend will continue if it can take out the 1065 level. And of course, for gold, we're looking at UCO. So let's take a real quick look at Tesla. If you traded Tesla with this morning, of course, you know that we got bounced very quickly out of the short position on Tesla we did when it hit its stop loss. Now we have Tesla bouncing down here into the lower, this lower level support about 330. Well, if we keep pushing down a little bit lower, we could have a positive divergence on the TSI. On the daily chart, we have the market forecast showing us at least a two-line cluster, which tends to say within 1 to 5 trading periods, we should get a bounce. And the thing about it was today's move, the taking the trade today, was that premature? Now we had a TSI tick up on the daily chart. Could have probably tightened the stop just a little bit if it dropped below, this box right here. That would have been a better place for a stop loss. But we kept it within the rules of how we trade that strategy to trade. I am still holding on to a long call that expires next week during earnings, and that is just basically a full speculative trade that the implied volatility, like it normally does, is going to kick in and bounce into earnings, and the earnings on Tesla is on November 1st, after the market closes. And November 1st turns out to be next Wednesday, so after market close. So just keep watching here, because if we get down into this 334, 330-ish level, then I would anticipate basically selling another put and moving higher, and against this, that would expire hopefully this week. But as you can see, this had this is a heck of a move today. The range on it was 1370. Eric says, did I miss something? Exit sell. And so, we bought the 355 at that we're going to sell it at approximately 1435, but there was also a strategy 3 trade that went along with that, Eric. There was 2 alerts that went out. So let's see what else we're looking at really quick, moving quickly. NVDA. NVDA is probably one of those stocks that we're going to want to be owners of later on. With the market weakness, NVDA showed very little weakness. It's just basically driving across here. We do have a TSI crossover on a weekly chart from a very high, elevated, extended level. So I would anticipate, when that's happened before, we've got a nice pullback down on a level of support and then a bounce. Will we get the same type of price action this time around? We'll see. but it does have support down here at the 190 level. And then when it drops below the 190, you've got support at 184, and then all the way down to about 181. So just, I'm not ready to jump in. Basically, we don't have the signals. We don't have the setup. We don't have the TSI in the proper location on a daily chart to get into it. And then Netflix, again, Netflix I talked about a little bit earlier, looks kind of interesting. It wouldn't hurt to do a little bit of a nibble here and perhaps an option, or even buy the stock. Just a few shares. I'd only go with like a half position though at its current level. If it drops below, just below the 191.03 level, so give it about 50 cents below that. If it drops below that, out of the trade, wait for the next setup. Because again, Netflix is going to be one of those that continues to do well. Whoops. There we go. And I'll pull up the F5 trade that we launched out. The F5 trade we launched out, on the 13th. We got a little bit of a dark cloud cover today. We've got earnings coming up on the after hours on the 25th. I'm not going to give away all our profits on this one, so I would be looking at, if it gets down to 117.75, go ahead and pull the plug on it, and just because this sell-off with the market today was not a good thing. I mean, it was not a good thing, so I don't want to lose all my profits on. The other one we're looking at is Play. Dave & Buster. Dave & Buster, similar type situation. Dave & Buster pushed up, tried to make it up to 50, and then reversed down through the 20-day moving average, and it's come to rest on top of the 8. Now, again, we can apply the 8-day rule. If we're slightly below the 8, it goes below this one. That would be a time to just go ahead and pull the plug on it, wait for the next setup. It looks like TSI wants to roll around, but that would be a legitimate active trend trading exit, and it looks like it would get us out with a slight profit. We'll just watch to see what that happens, what happens with that in the morning. The question is what did it close? It closed at, let's see, it closed at 48.54. The 8 is at 48.54, so it's right at it. Okay, looking at what else is going on here. I don't think that's about it for the indices, and we've gone for about 15 minutes. And one of the other ones that I'm looking at is Cruise, CRUS. Again, this will be a pre-earnings run. It was looking like it was gonna pop up, did not, but it's got earnings on 11/2 after market closes, and so it looks like it's finding support, but it really hasn't given us a good trigger to trigger off of. So that's what we're looking at. And I covered in the other day, some of the ones I'm looking at for the pre-earnings runs. They include Baba, Grub, Meli, M-E-L-I, Cruise, Com, NVDA has earnings on 11/9. Then of course Tesla has earnings on 11/1. So that's what we are looking at. So with that, I'm going to call it a day. Have a great evening, folks. And if you're a premium member, you want to tune in on Wednesday evening for the session, because we're going to talk about conditional orders, tying them into strategy number 2 for options for income during the week. So with that, bid you do. God bless everybody. Aloha.